The Slayer journey has been a long one. It's been a warm one, too, considering I choose the one weekend where it decides to be 90 degrees in September in Pennsylvania. World Painted Blood, though, is an album that is sort of similar to that situation in the fact that it was a little different from the norm. Now, with the last two albums, God Hates Us All and Christ Illusion, Slayer had opted to really try to bring back their ferocious side, their thrash side, their destructive side, and did so to some moderate results. What it really actually caused was a brand new generation of Slayer fans to really come into being, and Slayer is the type of band that anyway was just going to continue to get fans once they heard their music, but for whatever reason, with the heavy metal explosion in the 2000s with metalcore and things of that variety, it was aided by all of that. So World Painted Blood was coming at a time where a lot of old school Slayer brethren were hoping for something a little different, and new folks were just hoping for more of the same. They kind of dug where the band was going with their direction. So that generation split was really starting to showcase itself. And it definitely showcased itself whenever I reviewed this album 6 years ago as one of the first reviews on the Cover Killer channel. But that's enough ancient history. World Painted Blood was a disc that was able to showcase a little bit more difference, and I immediately will talk about Playing with Dolls as that whole concept. Not only did this song really sound ridiculous from a title's perspective, thinking about Slayer and then seeing Playing with Dolls is about as distant as an idea as you ever thought. But whenever you consider what Slayer is all about, whenever you consider the sinister mindset of serial killers, either that or the sinister mindset of other criminals, this is actually a song that has great value to it. Either that or the sinister mindset of things such as voodoo. So, just from the title perspective, seems ridiculous. Song itself does exactly what it needs to be. Musically speaking, this is a Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman affair, and you can tell that the Hanneman tracks had a little bit more of a thought process toward delivering thrash metal in leads, as Kerry King's side did, but also bringing about something a little bit different. Bringing something that has a little bit more in the way of something to offer to the listener, and actually kind of coalescing and bringing both worlds together as far as that generation gap was concerned. Songs such as Unit 731 were the ones that were really kind of given to us as a taste of what Slayer was all about here in 2009 at the time. And whenever you think about songs also such as Beauty Through Order or Hate Worldwide, it's just a showcase and a redevelopment and a repositioning of the classic idea that was heard from albums such as Rain and Blood and Seasons of the Abyss, while coupling that with the modern day ideas and the modern day tone of God Hates Us All and Christ Illusion. So really we are seeing a bit of a combination of the worlds coming together. It still has that same insanity. It still has that same real just rip-roar effect that you got back in the 1980s and early 1990s, but it has a little bit more of a cleanliness to it. It has a little bit more of a loudness to it because of the loudness war. And it was also one where they were able to deviate just a little bit more on this album. They were able to do a little bit more. Now remember, here's the irony. You want true irony. The whole God Hates Us All 9/11 thing, that's not irony. That's just coincidence. Here's irony. Here's irony. Back in the 90s, whenever Slayer actually did something a little bit different, it was something that was not well received. Now, Slayer does something that's a little different, and it's well received. It's strange what happens within 10 to 20 years. It's strange how patterns change, and it's strange how one experiment works and another one doesn't. Remember a long time ago in this discography review how I talked about that razor's edge that seemed to exist between, say, Hell Awaits and a song or two from Divine Intervention that really showcased just how Hell Awaits was really just a lucky album. It was very fortunate and very precise, whereas Divine Intervention didn't exactly have that same polish. That's kind of what we have here. That's kind of what we have here. It really showcases that the razor's edge of experimentation that really plagued the band in the 1990s, done here in 2009, was performed with better results. This is still by no means the ideal Slayer album for the new millennium. This is still by no means the true comeback of this band, but instead it was one that seemed and showed that Slayer was willing to expand a little bit and kind of traverse toward what some people would consider the right direction, and I would be one of them. I think that this album showcased that they had it in them to really bring the sounds of 3 decades together and cause this perfect storm, this witch's brew to work. Which leaves me extremely excited about what we're going to talk about next. It leaves me extremely excited of the potential that could be on Repentless. Here in 2015, we now finally have come full circle and made it to the present in our Slayer discography marathon of destruction. This album, World Painted Blood, left me with enough of a good feeling that I felt that it was a stepping stone. I felt like Slayer for a while there was just sort of pounding out more of the same because that's all they knew. But this album showed that they knew a lot more and had a lot more to offer. Like I said, it's by no means ideal, but it left me really, really excited for whatever came next, which of course we almost never got. But now that we know that it's coming, and now that we know who's going to be a part of it, I think it's time. I think it's time for us maybe to accept Slayer back into our hearts and minds, those of you who have sort of been dissuaded by the same old shit ideal. I think Repentless has the opportunity. It certainly has the potential swagger to do that. But there's only one way to find out. The only way to find out is to crank that sucker up, put it on 11, and see where exactly it takes us. Come back tomorrow, and we're going to talk about Repentless by Slayer. And seriously, just finish this son of a bitch. I'll see you then.